Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Friday, February 8th, 2019. 4:40 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So today we're going to go over methane, sulfur dioxide, and earthquakes. And we'll get caught up on comments probably tomorrow. And so we have a new day's worth of data here from CAMS, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services. Yesterday I showed you the data from Tuesday the 5th, and today we have new data from Wednesday the 6th. So I have that loaded up as our base time. I have the Arctic view chosen, and the level is surface level. So I already have this movie loaded up, but just to review where we left off with methane from Tuesday, this is where it left off with this big release coming out of Norway and the Scandinavian countries, and it's going to be coming out of the ocean towards Svalbard there. And also this big release building in Russia that moves in the forecast period out and into the ocean. So that's kind of where we were at with this. So let's load up this movie again. It's a little jerky the first time through, but it'll smooth out. But you can see that release is coming from this northern Scandinavian, the sea here, the Barents Sea. Now watch, see, and it's red and orange coming out. It goes to Svalbard and about halfway, well, all the way across, it looks like. And in the meantime, this big release came up out of Russia in the forecast period, and a lot of methane is being released in the Kara Sea. Okay, I'm going to pause it here. Now we're into Thursday being the forecast period. So here's what was released on Wednesday right here in this Barents Sea. A lot of methane into the reds and orange area, and this bright red is 2100 parts per billion. So we have a little bit of that bright red mixed in along with this 2080, this orangey gold, and then the lighter orange color is 2060. And then it goes on up, and this brown color can be anywhere between about 2140 and 10,000 parts per billion, according to this color ledger. So this is what released on Wednesday, and more release here in the Kara Sea next to Novaya Zemlya, and then this big release building in Russia. And now if we start the movie, we can watch it here in the forecast period. Later on Thursday, it's releasing into this wave moved from the land into the ocean there. And the methane is coming up at surface level through that sea ice. Look at that. And then it spreads out, goes all the way across. I mean, this is incredible to see this at this time of year, and it's cold up there. The sun, the circle where they're starting to get sun is just coming around this little southern tip of Novaya Zemlya is now in the sun, and some of this coastline is still in the dark, but it's starting to, the coastlines are starting to get sun. But Greenland, it's still dark on about the top 1/3 of Greenland. we can see the background color is this orangey, and then over here through Siberia and Russia too. And then we've got more release coming up. It's not as dramatic looking as this, but we are having release out of this East Siberia ice shelf region. It's just at a lower level. And if you want to look for yourself, I always leave the link below on these videos, and I encourage people to be, citizen researchers, citizen scientists, because that's the only way we're going to really see what's happening. It's better for us to see it with our own eyes, and then a picture says 1,000 words. And we can totally relate a lot more when we see it with our own eyes than just having some quote expert sit there and say, oh, we released 5 times more methane in the last month. I'd rather see a picture, frankly. So then I've pulled up sulfur dioxide I've got today as the base period for the Pacific area. This is total column, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and run this movie, and we're still seeing a large release out of this area of Mexico, where there are a couple of volcanoes that Popocatépetl, or Petal, however you say it, is like constantly going off. But it's really releasing. But also I wanted to show Hawaii, because when I go to earthquakes today, we're having a swarm at Kilauea today, and so there's extra sulfur dioxide being released from Hawaii. Now remember that back in May of last year, they had the volcano erupting and falling into the sea, and the lava going into the sea, and I don't know what all, but that was back in May. A lot of destruction on the main island, and since then it's still been releasing a lot of sulfur dioxide. The volcanoes are still they're calmed down, and people are living there and doing their thing, but I'm from what I'm seeing on the earthquake map, it's not a good sign. We also have a pretty good sulfur dioxide release from up here in Alaska, where we have some active volcanoes going off, and also down here in New Zealand, and I'm thinking this is from the wildfires that are burning in the northern part of this southern island, and so it's coming up in this total column and spreading out. And of course we see the red over China. I'm thinking that's from industrial pollution and just different areas. And wherever you see cream colored, that's a release of sulfur dioxide. It doesn't have to be red to show it's releasing. Cream colored means it's a release too. And there are volcanoes going all around this west coast of South America. So, and we've got it coming up in the Antarctic. There is an active volcano down here, Mount Erebus, that's active year-round, and it's been active for a long time. So it's got a lot of sulfur dioxide, more than I would expect, but it's there, and things are happening. So I just wanted to show that, and so you have a little perspective as we go to our earthquake maps. So I will now print do a print on this, and I'll have this as my backdrop. Hang on. Looks like it doesn't want to print. Of course, when I want it to, it won't. I'm reloading this page. I like to use a backdrop behind the earthquakes. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I got something up that I will use as a backdrop. This is actually the North Pole view, so that you can see the whole northern hemisphere with methane. So that's where we're at. So here we go. We've had quite a bit of activity. I've got USGS pulled up for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 270 earthquakes from all magnitudes worldwide. And then if we go over to the 2.5 magnitude for the last 24 hours, we've got 39. So let's see what's going to come off the map soon. Let's go on over to Ludlow. Well, we can, no, I think we're okay. We're okay. I'd like to start down here with this South Pacific area. We've had this one on the land at Guadalcanal Island. This was a 4.7. This is part of the Solomon Islands near Honiari. This came in at 10:40 this morning, 33 kilometers deep. That was probably not deep enough to cause any damage, or not a big enough earthquake to cause any damage, but it's just showing movement, and it was on the island there. Here in Indonesia, this one in the ocean, they're saying it's a 4.5 near Kahali, Indonesia. This one came in at 2:18 this morning, 26 kilometers deep. But I really want to look at this area here. In the Philippines, they've been getting slammed. This is quite an event that's taking place right now. And so we can see, so this is just 2.5 magnitude and higher. I'm sure they've had earthquakes that are smaller in this region, but on USGS for international quakes, the lowest ones we can get is 4.5 magnitude and higher. So we've got 12 that had happened in the last 24 hours right here, all in this same area. And they're in the ocean, and I'm not seeing any tsunami waves on any of these. So since they're in the ocean, they're probably not doing any damage to this island, but the people are feeling the shaking. The largest one was this 5.9. They're calling these near General Luna, Philippines. This 5.9 came in at 3:55 this morning, 24 kilometers deep. So since then, there have been 12 all in the same place. So I'll just call them off. 5.0, this was at 4:29 this morning. 4.7 at 4:35 this morning. These are Pacific time, which is my local time. 5.1 at 4:45. 4.7 at 7:28. 5.0 at 8:09, 4.6 at 9:01, 4.9 at 9:02, so just minutes apart, literally, some of these. 4.7 at 12:10 this afternoon, 4.8 at 12:37, 5.2 at 1:10 this afternoon, and the last one was a 4.6 that came in at 1:48 this afternoon. Now the ones that did register in depth were 35 kilometers. And when you see, and the first one was 24 kilometers depth. But when you see this like a 10 kilometers depth, that's the USGS default that they put up if they don't know how deep it was. So I don't know what's going on down there, but something's breaking loose, and it's right beside that tectonic plate, and it's moving, lots of movement there. Then down here on this southwest Indian Ridge, right on the line, was a 5.4 that came in last night at 7:11 p.m. So we can see this is in between Madagascar, and then the Antarctic is down here. So this is the Antarctic plate down here. So this was right on the red line of that Antarctic plate. And so we're not seeing any earthquakes showing up in Africa or Europe or Asia today. So let's move on over to this one that happened on the coast of Russia. This is Kamchatka, that peninsula that comes down. This is an active area. We had a 4.6. They're saying it was 38 kilometers southeast of Vilyuchinsk, Russia. 4.6 came in at 9:08 this morning, 82 kilometers deep. So this is right on this red line of this is where the North America plate meets the Pacific plate. So there's that. Okay, it's nothing in South America in the last 24 hours. Now let's go to the Dominican Republic. We've had some activity down here. We've got 9 on the map that are 2.5 magnitude and higher. I'll call them off. 2.6, 2.6, 2.8, 3.0, 3.5. That's the biggest one so far. 139 kilometers depth. 2.9, 2.8, 2.9, and 3.0. So now if we look at all magnitudes for this region, we have 13. So we had, how many did we have? So 9 were 2.5 magnitude and higher, and so we have 4 that are lower than 2.5 magnitude. So 13 in total in this region. So there's that. Now we're going to look at Hawaii next. I'm really concerned about what I'm seeing here. Okay, first of all, here's the big island of Hawaii, and we see these. Okay, so we have 15 on the map here. This is all magnitudes. Here's Mauna Loa. So I'll just click on these and call them off, and then we're going to look here at Kilauea. Here's a 2.2 that happened in the ocean, 2.9 in the ocean, 2.1 in the ocean. Then here's a 2.2 near Pahala. Then here's a 2.5 near Pahala. Here's a 2.0 near Honaunau Napupu. And this is in the Mauna Loa region. And then there was one over here, kind of by itself, a 1.9. Now, let's take a zoom in at Kilauea. This is the Kilauea volcano crater, and we have 8 here, and they started, the first one was a 1.8 that came in last night at 11:17 p.m. and it was very shallow. It was 0.4 kilometers depth. So what we're going to see on all of these are very shallow, or they're up in the chamber. If we see a negative depth, like over here, like the -0.3, it means that the epicenter of that earthquake is up in the mountain, and that's because the magma has moved up there. So I'm thinking that when we saw the sulfur dioxide release, I'm thinking that something big is about to happen here. And see, we just had another one. Just had 2.3 just now came in. So let's go through these. The next one was a 1.6 that came in at, so it was quiet from last night from 11:17 Pacific time, and then it was quiet until 3:44 this afternoon, just a little over an hour ago. It was a 1.6, and it was 0.8 kilometers deep. And look at the 3:44, and then it's showing another one at exactly the same time, a 1.9 at exactly the same time, 3:44, and the same second, 24 seconds, 24 seconds. So this first one, they were right. See, they were right next to each other. These were right next to each other. They came in at exactly the same time. The second one was a 1.9, and it was 0.2 kilometers deep. Then about less than 30 seconds later, at 3:44 and 50 seconds, there was a 1.7 that came in over here that was minus 0.3 kilometers depth, so that was up in the chamber. Then at 3:56, so 8 minutes later, was a 2.0 right here, this blue dot, and it was a 0.1 kilometers depth, very shallow. Then 1 minute later was a 1.8 that came in at 3:57 at a minus 0.2 kilometers depth, so that was up in the chamber. Then 3 minutes later at 4:01, a 1.8 came in and it's a minus 0.1 kilometers depth, so that was up in the chamber. Then 1 minute later, less than 1 minute later, a 2.4 came in at 4:02 p.m., 0.1 kilometers depth, and then there was a little break, and then at 4:59 this 1.8 came in at a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. and it's now 5:06 p.m. So that's the last one that's come in. So there are 9, but 8 of them have happened since 3:44 this afternoon. So in just a little over an hour, 8 have happened right here. This first one was the one that came in last night at 11:17. So this was like on the ridge, and then all of these are in the crater. So we'll look at this again before the end of the report. See, another one just, no, this is the 10th one here. So we will revisit this before the end of the report and see if any more have come in. So I'm afraid something big is about to happen up there. Now let's go up to Alaska. Here's a 3.3 near Unalaska Island and a 3.1 near Nikolsky, Alaska. These are part of this Aleutian Island chain right by this red line, this Pacific plate where it meets with the North American plate. So now let's go to 2.5 magnitudes and higher to start with, and then we'll look at all magnitudes. The first one was a 2.8 near Tanana, and then a 3.4 near Koktovik, and a 2.6 near Koktovik. So those are the ones over 2.5 magnitude. Now look at this for all magnitudes on this map. And typically Alaska has between 50 and 100 earthquakes a day. That's average. So they've got 64 of all magnitudes registering today. So we can see them, a couple up here at the northern part of Alaska, and then starting about mid-range, and then just coming down through the state, down in the middle, and then they're just peppered around, and they're small. Most of them are under 2. They're in the 1s range. We have some that are above 2. But most of them are like 1.5, 1.7, 1.8. And then here's our cluster near Anchorage. So when I zoom in there, that's 21 earthquakes in that view today. Now, let's go down to the lower 48. Got some stuff going on here. We're going to start over here in Tennessee. Here's a 2.2 near Morristown, Tennessee that came in at 12:05 this morning. 0.2 kilometers depth. So that's in the mountains. That's not too far from Knoxville. And the Appalachian mountain chain runs right up through there. So there's that one. Then as we move west, we've got this 2.5 near Perry, Oklahoma. This one came in at 3:02 this afternoon. Then up here in the Yellowstone area, we're showing, got Nevada on there, 1 near Dillon, Montana. It was a 2.2 that came in at 8:07 this morning, 4 kilometers depth. Now coming down through Utah, we've got a cluster here. Let's see what we've got. We've got 10 here on the map. This is unusual to see them clustered here. 10 right here, all near Helper, Utah. And I'll just call them off. 1.5, 1.6, 1.1. This is at a minus 1.7 kilometers depth, so you know what that means. Here's a 2.0, 1.1, 1.4, 1.7, 1.9, 1.4, and 1.7. So we're seeing these clusters. Remember the cluster that we saw yesterday at Ludlow? Now this all started at 10:19 this morning, and they came in just within minutes of each other. 10:19, 10:20, 10:28, 10:38, 11:07, 11:17, 11:14, 11:18, 11:22, and 12:08 was the last one. So we're seeing these clusters. Here was another one at a minus depth, a minus 0.2 kilometers depth. So there were 2 in the minus depth, and the rest of them were not negative depth, so they were underground. So it makes you wonder. So I'm thinking things are coming apart. The earth is unzipping. Then a little one down here near Beaver, Utah, 0.8. It came in at 1:02 this morning. It's springing leaks. Now up in the northwest area, here's one in this little bay here, Oak Harbor. Oh, it's 2. We had 2. We had a 1.7 and a 1.4. And again, within minutes of each other. This 1.4 came in at 6:06 this morning, and the 1.7 came in at 6:47. And that's all. Right there. Now, what's this? Here's a 0.6 near Intiot, Washington. Here's a grouping. Oh, let's get this little one. An explosion, a 0.8 magnitude explosion near Prosser, Washington at 1:31 this afternoon. It was a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. Let's look at this one. Here's another explosion down here, a 0.4 magnitude explosion near Drain, Oregon. It came in at 9:41 this morning at a minus 0.4 kilometers depth. So they're still blowing stuff up. So we've got 6 on the map here. I'll just click them off. Here's a 1.0 explosion near Morton. So that's our 3rd explosion. This one happened at 5:46 yesterday afternoon. Minus 1.1 kilometers depth. Minus 0.5 earthquake at Amboy. That was a microquake. Now this is at a minus 1.8 kilometers depth, and it doesn't say it was an explosion. Now this is near Mount St. Helens. Uh-oh. Here's Mount St. Helens. So this is what are we seeing here? Are we seeing movement up into the chamber? That looks like a crater of some kind. You know what? Let's just get these coordinates and see where this is on Google Earth. How about that? I'm curious now. Let's put these in and we'll see the epicenter of that earthquake. There it is, right in the middle of Lava Dome. I feel like Dutch sense here. I'm doing a Dutch sense. Here's Crater Glacier and Lava Dome. So that's exactly where that earthquake happened. Look at that. Here's Mount St. Helens. It's part of it's part of Mount. Oh, it's in Mount St. Helens. Oh my gosh. See, it says Mount St. Helens right here. Oh my gosh. Here's an earthquake right in the crater of Mount St. Helens. Oh my gosh. Look at that. So let's go back to our earthquake map. So that minus 0.5, that was a minus 1.8 kilometers depth, happened in the crater of Mount St. Helens. Was that the one I was looking at? Oh, we've got another one there. We've got a... What am I looking at? How many do we have here? I think I'm lost. Hang on. I think I got lost. Okay, I was looking at this one. A minus 0.5. That's the one I was looking at. And then there's... so that one happened last night at 9:22 p.m. So that was the minus 0.5 in the crater. Then there was another one down to the west of it. See, right here. Let's look at it. Here's Mount St. Helens. Here's the one we were just looking at. That's the one on Google Earth that I just showed you, right down here. Remember, I put in that coordinate, and see, it's right in the center of the crater. Holy crap. This is not good. Try not to flip out here. See, there it is. Mount St. Helens blew back in 1980. It blew big time. So if we're seeing stuff there, that's not a good sign. So there's that one right in the crater. Then here's the minus 0.1 near Amboy. I can't even see it. I don't even see where it's showing up. So same area. But the minus 0.5 is the one I showed you on Google Earth. And then let's put in these coordinates for the minus 0.1. And this one was 9 kilometers deep. So let's do this. We'll put this in. Okay. It's right over here to the west of Mount St. Helens. See? Just on the edge. And so that's the minus 0.1. So we got 2 right there. Minus 0.5 and minus 0.1 to the west. So, oh, it's over here. Okay? So that's what we've got there. Then we've got this 0.1 near Morton, which is just north of Mount St. Helens, not too far away. So we got those 3. Then, so here's Mount St. Helens. Then we've got one up to the northwest of 1.3 and a 1.0 explosion near Morton. This one came in at 5:46 this afternoon at a minus 1.1 kilometers depth. So there you go. So we got to keep an eye on those. So now that I know where Mount St. Helens is, I'll know to look for things near Morton and Amboy. Amboy is the place. Then we had that explosion at Prosser. So anyway, that's not looking good. So there's that. Here's another one. Did I get this one? Yeah, I got that one at Drain. Now let's go to Northern California. We'll work our way across California and Nevada. Then we'll end up in Southern California. First, coming down in California, we've got a 2.1 near Montague. We don't normally see them up here. It's right near the border, near Oregon, looks like. Yep. Came in at 9 o'clock this morning. Then here's one, a 2.1 near Hayfork that came in at 5:04 this morning. Then we've got this cluster here at Lassen. Now Mount Lassen, that's a volcano. I'll tell you right now, I've driven around up there. How many do we have at Mount Lassen? 7 today. And they're calling these near Mineral, California, and they're small. None of them are negative depth. They're like 1.6 and under. The smallest one was a 0. So let's see where, do you want to see where one of these was? Let's see where this 1.6 is. Let's pull that up on Google Earth. Here we go. Moving on down. Okay, so here's Lassen Peak up here. So this is south where these earthquakes happened. We're south of Lassen Peak. But look, here's a Mount Helen. Isn't that interesting? So this earthquake happened either on the side of Mount Helen or at the foot of it, on the side of it, looks like. And we just had those others at Mount St. Helen. I think there's something there. anyway. So we got 7 in this area right here. So that's where these are. 7 right there. Our cluster near Lassen Peak, which is an old dormant volcano. Yeah, moving into the geysers. Look at all of our dots here. Lots of dots today. How many? 20. We've got 20 here today. The geysers are active. They're small, from 0.4 up to, here's a 1.4. That's one of the larger ones. Here's a 1.8. That might be the largest one. So we got 20 at the geysers today. So there's that. Now, nothing in the San Francisco area. That's eerily quiet. Let's move on over to Nevada and we'll come back up to the others. Okay, here's a little diamond. That's an explosion. 2.1 magnitude near Lovelock, Nevada. 0 kilometers depth. This came in at 3:17 this afternoon. So they're blasting. Here's one just across the border in California, 1.0. Then Reno looks clear, Carson City looks clear, Pyramid Lake looks clear. Then coming on down, we've got just a few peppered down through. I'm not going to call out all of these. We can see this is the usual in this Nevada test site area. And here's, let's see what the largest one, here's a larger dot. So 2.1 near Goldfield. But these are all fairly small. I'm not going to get up in arms about all of these. Here's a 1 point. So after this explosion, this 2.1 explosion, there was a 1.3 magnitude earthquake at Lovelock. Now southeast of Lovelock. And let's see, here's a 1.3 near Warm Springs. So there's those. Now let's come on down this east side and let's get Mammoth Lakes. See what's going on here and try and get them all here. We've got 12 on the map for Mammoth Lakes. They're small, starting with a 0 magnitude. Here's a 1.1 Yosemite, 1.8 Mammoth Lakes, 1.8. And so again, these are just coming in within minutes of each other this morning. It looks like most of these were this morning. So when I'm thinking, like, when this magma moves, you know, it's breaking loose stuff and it's making stuff happen, and then it settles into, as it's moving, it creates these earthquakes within a few minutes of each other, and then it settles into a chamber and just sits there for a while until the chamber fills up and then it starts moving again. That's my new theory. Here's a 1.3 at Olancha. Here's a minus 0.0 at Coso Junction. Here's a larger one, a 2.1 near Bodfish, 1.4 near Bodfish, and so on. Let's see, is this an explosion? A quarry blast, 1.6 near Mojave. So, Let's catch these coming down the San Andreas fault line. A 2.0 near Tres Pinos, 1.7 near Coalinga, 1.0 near San Ardo, and okay, I got that explosion at Mojave. Here's one in Los Angeles, 2.6 near Sherman Oaks, and so on. So then in Southern California, we've got one in the ocean here, 1.6 off the coast of La Jolla, and then quite a few down here. Here's some down by Salton Sea. And I'm not going to call all these off. You can see the largest is about a 2.3, but I do want to go back up to Ludlow and see what's happening, do a follow-up. This is where we had this cluster yesterday, and we saw it was about 6.5 miles from Pisky volcano, an old volcano. And Dutch Sense talked all about it yesterday. So if you want to know more about it, you can look up his video. We've got only 11 here in the last 24 hours. So it's calmed down, but they're all in the same area. I don't see any that are a negative magnitude. I mean, negative depth. The largest one, there's a 2.5. Here's a 2.9. And then the rest of them are under, here's a 2.7, and then the rest are like 1.6, 2.0, 1.4, 1.5, and so forth. But yesterday, by the time I went to bed last night, I was seeing 56 here. It was kind of flipping me out. So this has calmed down. In the last 24 hours since my report yesterday, we've only had 11 here. But if you want to see, let's look at. I wish they had all magnitudes for 48 hours, but they don't. They have all magnitudes for 7 days. So let's see how many. There have been 66 here in the last 7 days. So I'll bet these are all in the last 48 hours. Yep. The first one was on the 6th. 2 days ago at 5:03 p.m. So in the last 48 hours, there have been 66 here. Isn't that something? So let's go back to 1 magnitude. I mean 1 day, all magnitudes now. So let's wrap it up. We had a lot to cover. And so, thank you for joining me. Let's go back to Hawaii and see what's going on over there. We've got 17, so they're increasing. Let's see what we've got at Kilauea now. We've got 11 here. See these 2 little red ones? Those are new. This 1.9 came in at 5:25, 10 minutes ago. And this 1.8 came in at 5 o'clock, 4:59. So there's 11 right here in that crater right now. So let's see. Let's back out and see if anything else major came in that we need to look at real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Hope everyone has a good weekend. Tell you, things feel really off. They just feel really off to me. 2.8 near Tanana. I think we saw that. We saw the Perry, Oklahoma. We saw the Philippines. So I think that's a wrap. So, like I end all my shows, I love everybody, each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me. I do believe that time is very short and that we need to get our spiritual houses in order. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace and goodbye.